Hello, hello, hello. I am the Linux Mensch. Every month on the 1st, Arch Linux puts out a brand new ISO. And that is not for updating your system. It's for brand new installations. And I always try to take that brand new ISO and go through an installation and do something a little different. Now, normally in my installs, regardless of whether I'm doing a manual install or I'm using the Arch automated installer, I always do a base install. And then after I boot into my brand new installation, I give myself a user password, I give them sudo privileges, and then I download all my install scripts and I install the Awesome Window Manager, the Qtile Window Manager, the Cinnamon Desktop, and all my favorite applications and stuff. And I always do that regardless of whether it's a manual installer or I'm using the automated installer. Now, last month, I went through the automated installer and I let the installer install the KDE Desktop Plasma for me and all my apps and make a user for me with sudo privileges and so forth. So today I'm going to do the same thing, but only with the Gnome desktop. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the automated installer. I'm going to let it do everything for me. I'm not going to just do a base install. It's going to do everything for me, but it's going to install the Gnome desktop environment. And of course, it's going to give me a user, a password, and sudo privileges and so forth. Okay? So let's get to it. So the first thing you want to do is go to the Arch Linux website. You want to click on download. And you can see the brand new ISO came out March 1st. And you're going to scan down and you're going to go to a country. They have mirrors all over the world. So I'm just going to scan down. And I already downloaded the ISO. But you could just go to your country and download an ISO from your country and somewhere where you live. The ISO is 1 gig, so it downloads pretty fast. Only takes a minute or two. Once it's downloaded, you're going to boot onto the ISO. So I've created a virtual machine and I booted up to the Arch ISO. And first thing I'm going to do is type in this, set font here -132B. Ah, that's better. And then I'm going to type in Arch install. And it's just going to take a moment to load up. And there it is. Now you're going to use your arrows to go up and down and make your selections. Okay. So in case you didn't notice, I'm English. So I'm going to leave that there. And I'm going to go to mirrors. I'm going to click on. I'm going to go to mirror region. I'm going to use my arrow to go down. I'm going to select Canada. And then you're going to hit your space bar to put an asterisk there. And I'm going to hit enter. Then I'm going to use my arrow keys to go back. And I'm going to go to locales. And I'm going to go to this middle one where it says English US. And I'm going to hit enter. And I'm going to use my arrow to go up to English Canada. This one you don't really have to do, but you probably will have to do it if you're in another country and you're speaking another language. I'm going to hit enter. So now we got English Canada. Now I'm going to go back. Now we're going to go to this configuration. So I'm going to use best effort, that top one, and just going to hit enter. Now I don't want this loopback device, but you want to go down to this one. So this virtual machine, I gave it a 50 gig hard drive, and you're just going to use your arrows to click the one you want, and you're going to use your space bar to put an asterisk there. Okay, so you have to make sure you have the right disk. And then you have to pick a file system. I always go with ext4. Would you like a separate home partition? I always say no. Disk encryption. Let's do disk encryption. We're going to encrypt the whole disk. We're going to hit enter. And it's asking me for a password. So I'm putting my password in. Telling me it's a very weak password. Well, I'm going to enter it again. I can use a weak password because it's just a virtual machine for the sake of making the video. Now I'm going to use my arrows to go down to partitions. And you click enter. And you can see I'm going to encrypt the whole 53 gig hard drive that I made. So I have to use my space bar to put an asterisk in that little box like that and hit enter. Now I'm going to go back. Oops, went too far. Well, going too fast. Let's go back. So now I'm going to use my arrow keys to go up, and we can see encryption type is Lux. There's a password there, and it's one partition because I'm encrypting the whole drive. I'm going to go with Grub for my bootloader. Swap is on as true, but I don't need swap, so I'm going to say no. Hostname, I'm going to leave it the way it is. Let's put a root password in. It's very weak. Well, let's do it again. There we go. User account. So I always do a base installation, regardless of whether it's manual or I'm using the installer. And after the fact, I log into the system and make myself a user. I give them a password. I give them sudo privileges. But I'm going to let the system do it for me. So I'm going to hit enter for user account. Add a user. Yes. Enter username. Oops, I should spell it right. Mensch. Password for Mensch. It's very weak. Put it in again. Let's put it in again. Should Mensch be a super user? Sudo. Yes as the default, and we want yes. So there we have it. We have Mensch. He has a password and he has sudo privileges. So now I'm going to use my arrows to go down. You can add another user, but I don't want to put another user in, so I'm going to just do confirm and exit. Now profile, I always skip profile because when I'm using the installer, because like I said, whether I'm doing a manual install or I'm using the installer, I always do a base installation, boot into it, give myself a user with a password with sudo privileges. Then I use git to download and install my GitLab repository and all my configuration files. And with that, I install the Cinnamon Desktop, Qtile Window Manager, the Awesome Window Manager, all my audio files that I want to use, and all the programs I love to use. But I'm going to let the system do it for me, so I'm going to go on to Profile. I'm going to hit Type. I'm going to hit Desktop. And now you have this choice. We have Window Managers, Desktop Environments, and so forth. So I'm going to go down, and you can install more than one, but let's just install one today. You can click on lots of them. And I know Gnome is in here. I probably passed it. There it is, Gnome. So I'm going to hit my space bar and put an asterisk under Gnome. So it's telling you it's going to install Gnome and Gnome tweaks. Now I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to go, it's asking for a graphics driver because it's a virtual machine. I'm going to go all open source. Greeter, it's automatically selected GDM, and that's good for me. I'm going to hit enter. And I'm going to hit enter. And I'm going to go back. Let's go back. So let's just go back up to profile for a minute. So we got profile, we're installing Gnome, open source drivers, and the greeter is going to be GDM. Audio, I'm going to select Pipewire. Kernels, I'm just going to leave it the way it is. Additional packages. Now, I want to install Vim, Git, PC, manfm, because that's my favorite file manager. Now, the Gnome Desktop comes with its own file manager, but I'm going to install PC manfm. And also, the Gnome Desktop comes with its own web browser, but I don't like it, and I don't recommend you use it. I'm going to explain that to you later. So what I'm going to do is type in Firefox and Firefox uBlock origin. And the Gnome Desktop comes with its own terminal emulator. It used to be called Gnome Terminal. Now it's called Gnome Console. But of course, I like Xterm, so I'm going to type in Xterm. And that should be good enough for now. If there's anything else I need to get, I can download it after my installation. Oh, there is something I want to put in. Now, when we are selecting our kernel in the installer, it gives you an option for several kernels, but it doesn't give you the option for a kernel that I like that is in the official Arch Linux repository. So I'm going to install it here. I'm going to type in Linux RT, oops, I should spell it right, RT LTS. Okay, because there was about 4 or 5 kernel options that had there in the installer, but it doesn't give you this option. Even though this is in the official repository, I'm not getting it from the AUR. And I'm going to hit enter. Now it's verifying that the package are there. So if you type in a package that's not there, or if you misspell a package, you're going to get an error message. Now let's just go back up and see that they're there. So we're installing Vim, PCManFM, Firefox uBlock Origin, Linux RT LTS kernel, Git, Firefox, and Xterm. That's good enough for now. And let's go down, network configuration. I'm going to use my arrow to go down to network manager. Click that on. Time zone is set to UTC, which stands for Universal Time. So I'm going to click it on. I'm going to hit the forward key and type in Canada. And it brings up all the time zones for Canada. So I'm going to go down to Canada Eastern because I'm in the Canadian Eastern time zone. And that's it. I don't want optional repositories. And I'm going to hit install. Hit enter. And it's going through this installation. It's going to take about 5 to 10 minutes. So I'm going to pause the video and come back. But don't go away. Okay, so this took about 5 minutes. I was away from the computer for a while. So actually it finished, if you're looking at my clock, it finished a while ago. I was out in the living room talking to my wife. So when you get to this part, you have the option to cheroot into the system and do some more tweaking in the TTY, or you can just reboot. So I'm going to use my arrow to go down. Oops. I don't want to do any tweaking, so I'm just going to say no. And installation completed without any errors. You may now reboot. So let's reboot and see what happens. If you remember, we encrypted it. And sorry about the small font. I can't do anything about this part. So let's type in my encryption password. And now it's decrypting it. And it should take me to GDM, the login manager for GNOME. Okay, so we're at the login screen. So we're going to log in. I'm going to put my password in. And there we are. And you can take a tour, but I'm going to say no thanks. And the first thing I'm going to do is right click. And I'm going to go to display settings. And if you're installed this on bare metal, you probably won't have to do this. But because this is a virtual machine, I have to do this in all my virtual machines, regardless of what desktop environment I install or window manager I install. I always have to do this. So I'm going to go to 1360 by 768 because I like it. And it takes up the full screen and it's good for my videos. Everything is nice and large and easy to see. Now we don't have to do an update because just in case you don't know this, when you install Arch Linux, it's right up to date. Now there'll be updates due tomorrow or the next day or in a couple of days because Arch Linux is a fast rolling distribution and there's updates to do every day. But right now it's totally up to date. Now, one thing I noticed is that when I went through the installer, I installed 2 kernels. Now, this second kernel, it doesn't give you the option in its list of kernels to choose from. I installed it as a package with my extra packages, like when I installed Firefox and PCManFM and so forth. And guess what? My helper is here, and her name is Hope. Say hello to the people, Hopi. Yeah, say hello to the people. She likes to come and help me, and she likes to come and sit in the camera. And I just let her go. Let her do as she pleases. She looks better than me anyways. So because I installed that second kernel, it wasn't in the option of list of kernels. I installed it as a separate package with Firefox and PCManFM and Xterm. It didn't enter into Grub. So we're going to have to make Grub because I want to log into that kernel. So the way you get to the menu is you could click on this. You could type in a search for your app. Or you could go down here and search for your app this way. And there's Xterm right there. Now, if you think it's too hard to go and bring this up to get to here, you don't have to go all the way over here and hit this. You could just hit your mod key or your super key or the Windows key. So if I hit the Windows key or the mod key or the super key, there you go. That comes up. And of course, like I said, you can type in an app here and click it on that way. Or you can click on this and go through this menu. And I'm just showing you all this in case you've never used GNOME before. So let's click on Xterm and it's going to be the bright white screen. Let's right click it and make it maximized. And sorry about this. I'm going to fix this later on in the video. So what I want to do is make Grub. So I'm going to do sudo grub make config -o /boot /grub /grub .cfg. And I'm going to put my password in. And the reason why I'm doing this is, like I said, we installed a lightweight kernel. It's called the real-time long-term support kernel, but it didn't get entered into Grub. And I want to log into that. Right now we're logged into the Linux kernel, not even the regular long-term support kernel. So we made Grub, and now I'm going to reboot. I'm going to go to Advanced Options, and there we are. We're logging into the kernel I want. And I have to decrypt my drive, put my password in. And there's another thing I want to do, and I should have done it before I rebooted, and I forgot. Gnome has its own software center. I don't know what it's about, and I've never used it. And I don't know why I would want to use it, because this is Arch Linux. So I just, I go to the Arch website. Let's just put my password in. I see if a package is available, and I download it in the terminal. And the thing so this GNOME Software Center, I really don't know what it is. I didn't use it. I didn't even try it. But I noticed it was using a lot of RAM. It's using about over 100 gigabytes of RAM when it's not even open. It's just sitting in there. So what I want to do is, and probably I shouldn't be using Xterm. I should use GNOME Console. So this is the GNOME terminal. It's called GNOME Console now. Because my Xterm isn't set up yet. Let's maximize it. Let's go into preferences. But use system default? No. Let's click on font. Let's click on this one. Let's kick it up to 18. They don't have a bold one here, eh? I want to remove GNOME software. I'm going to do sudo pacman. No, he's put it back in. Remove GNOME software. I think that's what it's called. Yes. And then I'm going to reboot, because this uses a lot of RAM, even when it's not open and you're not using it. And I use Arch Linux. I don't need a software center. Now I'm going to reboot. Sorry about all this rebooting. So now I'm going to put my encryption password in. And it's going to take me to GDM, the login manager. It's actually called a display manager, by the way. Okay, so I'm going to click this on. Brings up my name and password. Put my password in. And there we are. We're logged into the system. So I'm going to make that. What I'm going to do is let's click on the mod key. And let's just go into Xterm. Here's Xterm. Isn't that nice and small and bright white? And let's do an Htop. So, I don't know if you can see this. Sorry about the bright white screen and the small font. But we're running at 570 megabytes of RAM. Actually, it's 567. So, first of all, for a full-fledged desktop to be running at 567 megabytes, that's really amazing. And secondly, for the GNOME desktop to be running at 568 megabytes of RAM, that's like, wow. Because the GNOME desktop has a reputation of being one of the heaviest desktop environments in the Linux world. And there was times in the past when I installed the GNOME desktop just to try it out, not on video. And it was using like 1.3 gigabytes of RAM with nothing open. Like, yikes. So, the fact that we're running at 566 megabytes of RAM for a full-fledged desktop environment and for GNOME, that is amazing. Anyways, I'm going on too much about that. So what I'm going to do is, let's close this. So you know what I'm going to do? Let's go back there. Let's use the search one instead. I'm going to go into Xterm. I'm going to maximize it. So I'm going to do, I'm going to type in git clone https //gitlab.com artibus1 /mench.git. So I just installed my GitLab repository. I'm not going to run my auto configs, but I do want to get something from there, and that's why I've gone into here. Sorry about the small font. I'm working on fixing this right now. I'm going to cd into Mench ls it. I'm going to cd into arch. I'm going to ls-a. And oh, sorry, it's probably almost impossible to see that. You know what? Let's go into GNOME console. Click on this. Click on utilities. I'm going to show you, it's not that hard to use GNOME. But I just want to fix this first. Let's go into console because the font is better. There you go. Let's cd into Mench. cd into arch. ls-8. So I'm going to copy this X resources, period X resources, from Mench into my home directory. So I'm going to do copy, period X resources to home. And let's see if it went. There it is. Now let's see if logging out will fix it. Let's log out. Log out. We're going to log out and back in. Put my password back in. And now let's open Xterm. And there we are. We have Xterm. And we do an Htop. And I'm running at 575 megabytes of RAM. How's that? 575 megabytes of RAM for a full-fledged desktop and for GNOME desktop. Isn't that amazing? So let's close this. And now I'm going to start tweaking it. These are the things I like to do. First of all, I'm going to turn on the dark theme. Second of all, I'm going to go here. I'm going to go here. And I'm going to go here. I'm going to take Xterm. I'm going to right click it, pin to the dash. There we go. And now I'm going to go back. And this is PCman FM. I like it better than the file manager that they gave us. This is the file manager they gave. But I like PCman FM better. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to go here. I'm going to right click PCman FM and pin to the dash. I'm also going to pin Htop, pin to the dash. And I'm going to pin Firefox to the dash. Now, I was going to talk about this, so I'm going to talk about it now. Let's go back. So if you go here, they came with their own web browser. And I tried it, and I even went to the GNOME website and read about. I'm going to say, no, I don't want this to be my default. Let's make it full screen. I read about their web browser on the GNOME website, and it says it comes with a built-in ad blocker. But I tried it, and it doesn't work. So these are the things I don't like about this web browser. Number one, well, why did I do that? And if you notice my mouse is a bit laggy, I think this is a virtual machine problem. Because like I said, I have Arch Linux installed on a bare metal computer with GNOME, and it's working fantastic. It's only using 500 megabytes of RAM or 600 megabytes of RAM, and my mouse is fine. There's no lagging. So I think this is a virtual machine problem. And let's click this on. So number one, let's go to options. Let's go to preferences. So block advertisements is turned on. block pop-up windows is turned on. I clicked on, I don't want my most visited pages to show up, so I clicked on blank page. And then I went down. One nice thing about it though is it has DuckDuckGo on turned on as default rather than Google. You got to give them kudos for that. But there's bugs in this thing. This thing doesn't work properly. And then I went to privacy, and it has, intelligent tracking prevention. Google search suggestions is turned off by default, which is nice. And of course you have your appearance. So for instance, let's go to archlinux.org, and there we are. Now let's turn it off, and let's go back. And it goes back to Arch Linux. I don't like that. Why is it doing that? I turned on the settings so that a blank page would start up. The other thing is that the ad blocker doesn't work. I went to watch some videos. The ad blocker is useless. So this web browser used to be called Epiphany, and now it's called Gnome Web. I don't know why it comes installed as default, and that's why I installed Firefox. I think Firefox is more secure, it works better, and the ad blocker works. So, and if it's too hard to be going up here all the time, like it's kind of a far reach, all you got to do is hit your super key or your mod key or your Windows key. Okay, there it is. So I'm going to take this off. I'm going to unpin it. Unpin. This is Rhythmbox, but I'm going to unpin it. Let's open up Firefox. Now, I'm not going to tweak Firefox because I've done that in many videos. And of course, this video is probably going to end up being an hour anyways. I'm going to try to cut it down a bit. And there's Firefox. And let's close it. And now we got to get rid of that wallpaper. What I'm going to do is, let's right click it, change background. There we go. Add a picture. So we're going to add something. I'm going to click it on, and I'm going to open it. And let's click it on, and let's close it. There we are. Oh, that's a little nicer, eh? Now, what else am I going to do? There's a lot of things I'm going to do. So here's your volume control. You can go here and hit the setting, hit this icon here. So this turns your dark style on and off. This is your volume control. This is going to lock it. Okay. Put my password back in. You can get to your settings from here. Click that on. That takes you to settings. Or you can right click it and get to settings, which is kind of nice. This is the file manager that comes with the system. I'm going to go to settings, right click, and click on settings. So first of all, I'm going to go to power. And I don't like my screen shutting off, so I'm going to say never. Now I'm going to go into sharing. So if you want to be able to remote into your system, you're going to do this. You're going to click on remote desktop, and you're going to click that on. You're going to click remote control on. You're going to leave this the way it is, and this is giving it an automatic password. What I would do is click on the pencil and put the password that you want to have, make up your own password that you want to use to log into this machine when you're remoting into it. Okay, so that's done. The file sharing, I would click that on, and I would click that on, and it automatically turned that one on. And I'd also check the password, make sure it's the password that you want it to be. So now we're set to log into here with GNOME connections, or you could download Ramina onto the other computer. If you have a Ramina on the other computer, you could log in with a Ramina. Now I'm going to go to keyboard, And I'm going to scan down and I'm going to view. I'm going to go to this one. So I'm going to go into this one. I'm in keyboard, view custom shortcuts. I'm going to click it on. And we have launchers. And actually, I'm going to go to Windows first. So close window. In my awesome window manager in Qtiles, close is Shift Mod key C. So I'm going to make it the same here. Click it on. And I'm going to type in Shift Mod key C. And you can see put it right here. And I'm going to set it. And toggle maximum state is set at Alt 10. But in my window managers, I have it as Control Mod key spacebar. So there it is. I put it in. Let's set it. And now I'm going to log out of this part and go back to custom shortcuts. And I'm going to go to custom shortcuts here. Add a shortcut. Xterm. The command is going to be Xterm. And the shortcut is going to be mod key enter. Well, I guess you have to click this on. Mod key enter. And I'm doing this because mod key enter opens the terminal in the awesome window manager and in the Qtile window manager. And I'm used to doing it that way. So let's close it. Now let's add another custom one. In my window managers, mod key F opens up Firefox. So I'm going to type in Firefox. The command is Firefox. And I'm going to click on this shortcut. And I do mod key F. Let's add it. And let's close it. Now I'm going to go, well, we're in here. And I like the settings menu. It's kind of simple. And it's not overloaded with tons of settings and tons of different types of configurations, which could be good or bad. Some people like to have a ton of options for configuring it. It gives them more options. But it also makes it too complicated and overcomplicated. And sometimes we want to go with the KISS, right? You ever heard of KISS? Keep it simple. So I like it. It's simple, it's clear, it's clean, it's simple, and it's nice. So let's go into date and time. And I want to change the format of this clock. So number one, I don't like the fact that it's a 24-hour clock. I like it to be AM and PM. And number two, I like it to say whether it's Saturday or Sunday, because I don't know what day it is. So what I'm going to do is do this. See this 24-hour? I'm going to change it to AM PM. And we can see it changed already. It's 6:32 p.m. Okay? And then I'm going to go down here and I'm going to click on weekday is turned off. I'm going to click that on. Now we know it's Saturday, March 2nd, 6:32 p.m. And I'm going to add seconds to the clock. And now I'm going to close it. There we are. So it's Saturday, March 2nd, 6:32 and 32 seconds p.m. How's that? Now let's see if my fast keys work. So mod key enter should open the terminal. There it is. Control mod key space should make it full screen, and it does. Control mod key space should put it back to a floating window, and it does. Shift mod key C should close it, and it does. Mod key F should open up Firefox. And there we have it. There's Firefox. Now I haven't configured Firefox yet, and I'm not going to do that on video because this video is we're already at 56 minutes. So I'm going to have to trim this down somehow. We have our ad blocker installed. Oh, so mod key C should close it. Shift mod key C, and it closes it. Oh, and there's some more things we could do to tweak it that I like. And that's this. Click on the clock and click on the select weather location. Search for a city or country. So let's say Toronto. Let's do Toronto, Canada. And now we have the weather. So let's maximize it. So we see it's 4 degrees. You can click it on to hourly weather or daily weather. Okay. And if we close it, now let's go and click it on again. Click on your clock. You can see we have the weather down here. Right, it has the weather for 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, and 11 o'clock. And it's showing it's 5 degrees Celsius. Now, if I want to go full screen, I can just click it on. and it takes me full screen. And it's giving me the hourly weather report. The temperatures are down here. And it's 4 degrees right now. It feels like 0 in Toronto, Canada. It's cloudy. And it gives you the hourly rates. You can go further. So tomorrow, which is Sunday at 6 p.m., it's going to be sunny with a little bit of cloud, and it's going to be 4 degrees. Now we can change it to daily, and it gives you the daily forecast. Oh, next Sunday on March 10th, it's going to be 1. Okay. Oh, Tuesday it's going to be 6. And now, so we close that. So the way you get back into it is you just click on the clock, and you have a mini forecast here. But you could click it on, and it brings you a nice forecast. I like this. And there's another thing I want to do, and then I'm going to close the video because we're at an hour now and have to do my conclusion. Of course, you have your calendar here and world clocks. So let's add a world clock. I'm going to add London. I'm in Toronto, Canada. I'm going to add London, England. And there is a London, Canada, by the way, but London, Canada is on the same time zone that I'm in. So let's do London, United Kingdom. And let's add it. And we can see it's 11:30 p.m. there. Now let's close it. And then you can add more than one world clock. You can add several clocks from whatever part of the world you want to add them on, but I'm just going to do one just for the sake of time because I'm already at an hour in this video. And I'm going to have to edit it and try to chop it down a bit. So let's click this on. So now when we click on, we see we have our mini weather here. And of course, we can click it on and get to the big weather screen. And we can see in London, England, it's 11:37 p.m. And you can see it here. I don't know if it's going to show up in the video, but it's plus 5 hours. I don't know if you're going to be, I know you'll be able to see the time for London, England in the video, but there's a faint plus 5 there. That's going to show. And of course, just like you can click on the weather to make it full screen, we could click on the world clock to make it larger. And you can see it's 11:38 p.m. and they're 5 hours ahead of us. And you also have a stopwatch, an alarm, and a timer. And if we go back to here, and of course, you don't have to go this way. You could just hit your Windows key or your super key and bring it up like that. We have a full-fledged calendar here. Okay. And that is GNOME. And that's it. In this video, I did a brand new installation of Arch Linux using the March 1st, 2024 ISO. And I used the automated installer to install automatically my desktop environment, my apps, my user, my password, my sudo privileges, and to do everything for me rather than doing a base install and doing everything after the fact using my install script from my GitLab repository. And I used the automated installer to install GNOME. And I gave you a good tour of the GNOME desktop environment. And I showed you how I would like to tweak GNOME if I was going to live in it full time. And as a matter of fact, right now I have one computer that is real bare metal computer, not a virtual machine, that is running Arch Linux with the GNOME desktop environment. And I'm really liking it. And I have to give the GNOME desktop environment 2 thumbs up. In my next video, I'm going to show you how to go from a real bare metal computer running Arch Linux with the awesome window manager and how to remote into another real bare metal computer running Arch Linux with the GNOME desktop. So that's coming very soon. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like it and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Subscribing to my channel and giving it a thumbs up really helps my channel. Thank you for watching. Until next time, I am the Linux Mensch.